Hello, Mark. It is your Public Relations Officer, JB Pritchett. It's always my esteemed pleasure to be here with you. Tonight, I am coming to you from 1109 B Bayou Road, where we are having our community town hall in our community room. I hope that you can be a part of tonight, whether you are in person or virtually. But if you can't, you can always join us this Thursday on the other side of the city at our Fire Administration Building, which is 5715 Texas Avenue. And both of our town halls start at 6 p.m. Now, our town halls are meant to be a listening session, a time to share ideas and think about solutions for problems. So I sincerely hope that you be a part of us as we start our town hall. Thank you for joining us.
But we are all listening, most certainly. And I want to recognize Mayor Pro Tem Joe Compion, who is in the back of the room tonight on purpose, as we are here to listen to you and to make sure that you are heard as we move forward in our community. A lot has happened in our great city last year. A lot is happening in our great city this year. And a lot can happen in our great city in the future. But nothing can happen without the input of our citizenry. For we are not a democracy if we do not provide opportunity for our citizens to be heard. And tonight is a special night because we are giving voice to those questions and those concerns that we have as a community. Tonight is about an assessment and about an understanding on a pathway forward. Though we may not have all of the answers, we ought not have all of the answers on purpose, simply because it's about you, our community, having the answers. Welcome to you who are here in person. Welcome to you who are here online. And welcome to those of us that are here on Channel 16 tonight. We hope that we can provide information for you. There's a brief synopsis that I would like to share with you. More will be shared with you during our State of the City, but to give you a brief, 15 seconds or less, snapshot of some of the highlights of our departments. Again, brief, simply to get us up to speed, and perhaps in hearing some of these things, it might inspire you to question or voice your opinion about some of the things that are taking place in our community. So as we move forward tonight, again, we move department by department. We start with our Economic Development Department, and they are working, continuing to work with Mr. Karam and his organization, JMK5 Development, on the development of a state-of-the-art event facility on the former dog track site that will provide for us sales tax, hotel, motel tax, and an opportunity to provide jobs for many in our community. Along with that, we have realized sales tax increases year over year for the 6th year in a row. And we believe that this trend will continue with some of the things that are happening on our I-45 corridor and with some of the exciting things that can happen in our downtown facility. Certainly in the library, we have had to transform ourselves into an organization that primarily serves our community. In different ways. The library has partnered with different organizations such as Big Brother and Big Sister to provide community events for our children. They've started different classes such as knitting, I believe, to generate interest from the community members in that way. And they have had to become one of our event facilities. And so they've hosted many of our meetings. And they've been able to transform themselves to be viable in this time with all that we have going on in our community. And so they ought to be applauded for that. As far as our police department goes, we realize that we're in the midst of implementing our Safe City agenda. and the results are undeniable. They work. We have had a reduction in crime. We'll discuss that more in the state of our city. And we are moving forward in year 2 of our Safe City initiative. They also received funding, or will receive funding, for 6 new officers because of the federal COP grant that we were awarded. They received a $66,000 TAPS grant to prevent teen violence. And the council agreed to a contract with the Marque Police Officers Association so that we can try to keep our police officers competitive, so that we can keep good officers, so that they can continue to implement this Safe City initiative, which is continuing to keep us or make us safer by the day. Our fire department worked more overtime than any other department per person in our city, and they need help. They ran approximately 6,235 calls, and they are in desperate need of human resources, manpower. We did, however, the council did agree to a contract with our Lamarck Fire Department Union, the International Association of Firefighters, to try to continue to have a competitive fire department to continue to keep our citizens safe. Our code enforcement department lowered the outstanding complaints to near 0% in our request tracker, and they are expanding their reach into the right-of-ways by working with the Keep Lamarck Beautiful Commission to continue to keep our corridors clean. Our developmental services have continued to be busy because they're continuing to permit hundreds of homes per year in our community and work with new businesses as they move into our community on the west side of our city, and even now starting to move into the eastern portion of our city. Our finance department has done a stellar job with what they've had to work with. They were able to, through difficulty, provide for the council a balanced budget. They led us through the rollback and through major drawdowns on our reserve funding. Remember, there are many of our department heads that left, and those were positions that when they left, there were benefits owed to those persons. And we had to work through a rollback. And so they did the best job that they could do, faced with all of the difficulties they faced. And they did it, but while having to face a new auditor, a new auditing firm. And the new auditing firm confirmed what we knew, that our finance department is a department that is consistent with the law and a department that is consistent with standard practices for financial reporting in municipalities. They even worked through COVID, and so we commend them for their effort. Our Public Works Department launched the capital improvement plans through our community meetings this year. They launched the 3-phase light initiative. They worked on the repair of those 13 streets. They worked with the county to get those things done this year. They worked with our water tower on the west side of the city to get those repairs done, all while having to assemble a new administration team and a new street maintenance team. Our city clerk department added a public information request information portion online so that we can see those requests that are being made and the requesters that are making those requests, all while being down one employee, down to one employee. It used to be an office of 2. Now it's returned to an office of 1. And our city manager's department has had a new administration. We have a new city manager who's been here less than a year. He has now a new administrative assistant, and so they're working to move this city forward in their own way. That is an overview of every department. You will hear more again. You will see more in our State of the City address, but hopefully that spurred your interest and helped you to consider some questions you may have about where we are and where we need to be. If not, if there are other questions that you've brought that you want to bring forward tonight, we will listen to any question and try to answer every question you have. So, moving forward, I believe we will open the floor. I believe what we're asking is that you give, as always, your name and your address before you begin to speak. This is being recorded, yes? Yes. And so will it be transcribed by our city clerk?
It will be recorded. It is being recorded, excuse me, and it will also be available through YouTube, Channel 16, and Facebook as well.
Very good.
As well as being transcribed.
Very good. Okay. Again, if you want to ask a question or if you want to share your concern or your opinion, this is your government. You may do so at this time. If you raise your hand, we will certainly call on you and get you moving. Mr. Loftus, you're first. No? Okay, Mr. Loftus.
Good evening. Rashard Loftus, 309 Johnson Street. Mayor, you mentioned about the streets that's been paved. You mentioned that there was 13 streets that's been paved so far?
13 are part of the project.
Do you
13.
do you all have a list of any future streets to be paved? Because I received a call from a citizen inquiring about that particular subject as far as the streets. This particular lady live on Blue Bonnet. I don't know the condition of Blue Bonnet, but she told me it's pretty bad. And I myself would like to know what streets are down the line in the future. If y'all have a list that perhaps y'all could put out so the citizens can see, hey, this street's next, or this street's next, or whatever, it would help cut down perhaps some of the calls y'all may be getting. I don't know if y'all getting them or not, but you know, the transparency is something that everyone really wants. You know, everybody wants that. So if that's something y'all know what's next, maybe y'all can put it out there online so the citizens can see that. You know, what streets are next, or maybe they can add to that list. You know, I'm pretty sure y'all know where all the dead ends, not dead end streets, but the streets that are, you know, in need of repair. And while I'm mentioning that, Mr. City Manager, I meant to send you a photo of Edgar Street, the corner of Edgar and Nashby. Now, Edgar Street's been paved, but right there at that corner, there's a huge pothole. And I took a picture of it the other day, and I was going to send it to you, but, you know, I forgot about it until just now. So maybe y'all can factor that into getting, you know, patched up, because it's pretty huge, and I don't see how and why it was left unpaved when the street, Edgar Street, was paved. That was something, I mean, it's like literally right there. It should have been patched up, you know, along with the street that was paved. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Loftus. Let me say this. The good news is this Public Works Department has assembled a street maintenance team. This Public Works Department has assembled a street maintenance team. That's the good news. But the truth is, Mr. Loftus, there are no plans to undertake any major repair or reconstruction of any streets in Lamarck because we don't have a street maintenance plan. That's one of the things that this council is going to have to look at. We used to have a street maintenance plan. There about maybe 10 years ago, we had a street maintenance plan, and we were able to do about 55 streets, I believe it was. And then we ran through some financial hardship. And so we don't have a street maintenance program. Therefore, we don't have a list that we have generated that would have listed those streets that are in need of repair. And we don't have it because we don't have a way to finance it. There is no way, there is no mechanism we have outside of some sort of bond issue or some sort of increase in taxation on our citizens to generate enough revenue to be able to repair these streets, replace these streets in any significant way. You remember the average street to be replaced is about $1 million. Now, there's some that are cheaper, some that are more expensive, length of street, condition of the street. There are all sorts of things, usage. There are all sorts of things that are a part of that. But the truth is, we don't have a way to generate the financial resources, and the council is going to have to consider how we go about that. But first and foremost, this council is going to have to, and I plan on, and Mayor Pro Tem has suggested some of these things as well, moving this council in a way and in a direction that we would adopt a street maintenance program. The people want to see that we understand the work before we can begin to talk about what needs to be financed. So that has to happen in this year, in 2023.
Mayor,
Yes, go ahead. I'm trying to make sure I answered your question fully. Go ahead, brother.
I understood fully what you said, but that doesn't stop the potholes and stuff like that from getting repaired. Am I correct?
Yeah. So here's what, and I'm glad you said that, because I had in my notes, one of the things that we're doing differently to repair the streets, the potholes, the major potholes and things of that nature, is we just said that the Public Works Department has just assembled a street repair team. That's number one. Number two, with some of these capital improvement monies that we got from the federal government, there is a machine that we've identified that can repair potholes in a way that would be much more effective than we have been able to accomplish under our own efforts. This machine, to my understanding, is used in the city of New York to great success, and other places. So we've identified it. We are going to acquire it, and that should help, along with this street repair team. That should help us to be more efficient in the repair and maintenance of our streets. Who's next? Ms. Devine, please approach. Name and address, ma'am.
Laura Devine, 1406 Mary Lane. I have just a couple, if I could just real quickly just voice. I had several neighbors express their concern about the stretch of the feeder road from Main Street to where Kelly, 1765, even a little bit past that. I know it's TxDOT. I know the city doesn't have really much to do with it, but they tear up the street, but there's been like rocks, the cement collected. There's been several pieces of concrete that's rolled in the middle of the feeder that's almost caused wrecks or even damage to vehicles. And I don't know, it just seems like when they got to Marque, they just kind of just left it be, but up around Lake City, it was kept nice and clean. And so I don't know if y'all could talk to someone at TxDOT. The other thing I was gonna mention was, I understand that at one of the latest city council meetings that the RFP was approved for the drainage.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
For Mary and Melody?
For Mary and Melody, or what?
Yes, ma'am.
The
Yes,
first
ma'am.
phase, so I want to thank y'all for that and to continue until that project is started and over and done with. But I wanted to thank the administration, mayor, City Manager, thank y'all.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we stay concerned when those rains come. And then the last is a good thing, it's just an announcement. The Lamarck PD, along with the library and the Lamarck CPA, we are holding a movie night next Friday, the 10th, at the library. We're gonna have it inside because of all the rain. But we're gonna show The Princess and the Frog for the kids. I know it's last minute. We're trying to get a flyer out and trying to announce it so that we can get some of the kids out in just a community event. So if y'all could share that, I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Laura. I'm going to try to answer your question in 3 parts. I'm going to try to answer it from a political perspective. What can your council do for you? Gus?
Yes, sir. I was stepping out to take the call. There you go.
Would you lend yourself to this?
Absolutely.
I'm going to allow Caesar to answer Ms. Laura from a administration perspective, but then I'm going to ask Gus to answer.
About the text dot?
Yes, ma'am. All this is about TxDOT, so that we can get this all in one answer. So as your representatives, what I would suggest we do, petition. We can petition. What we can do as your council, we can pass resolution, which says we, the elected body of this community, believe this to be a nuisance, dangerous, whatever we are going to say. And I'm hearing you. If that is an issue, I would look at that. Mayor Pro Tem is here tonight. He would look at that. We can ask Caesar to have Kiara work on some language, and maybe we would allow the council, Joe, to consider that as a unit. Again, it wouldn't hurt. That's the political answer. Caesar, do you have an answer as far as?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Next step we would need to take is please continue to tell us when these problems persist so we can quickly get that forward to TxDOT and have them address it as soon as possible. Knowing exactly where it is, what the situation is would be helpful. I know in the past we've had a lot of folks call when sometimes flooding occurs on the other side, and as soon as we get the call, we quickly react. Sometimes we're already there or on our way. So that two-way channel of communication is helpful. And this is the first that I've heard about this particular one, but I will make sure that we follow up with TxDOT immediately.
I know it was brought up at a previous city council meeting about
Just
tall grass and,
That was brought up.
yeah, and it hadn't improved. And I know it's not the city that maintains that area, so, but if we can do something.
Gus, would you approach, please?
Sure. So, regarding was about the damage that's occurred in the road. Okay, so I apologize. I don't have my cards with me tonight, but if I can get your contact information, I can pass along. TxDOT, like any state agency, has a claims process. You got to put them on notice and step through that process. So I can forward that on to you so that you have it. It would probably be the one of the best places to start. Sure. And of course, the TxDOT, once TxDOT knows about it, they can talk to their contractors as well. So.
Are you city or TxDOT?
A city attorney, not TxDOT. I don't. Yes, I can't speak for what TxDOT. But yeah, sorry about that.
Probably thought that lady was trying to run out the door. We're saying it.
Any other questions? Do we have any questions on? Well, we're waiting for
No response.
to answer.
No responses yet from online.
While we're waiting on responses from those online, any questions they may have, we look forward to a city in 2023 that will begin work on our sewer infrastructure. This year, you will see the beginning phases of our wastewater sewer plant expansion. This year, you will begin to see the repairing of manholes in our community, the repairing and the replacing of much of our sewer infrastructure. Not all, not nearly all, but a significant portion of it. This is due to the $48.9 million grant award that we received. This council is implementing it, but we certainly know that the last council approved it, and we certainly know that Tink Jackson, our last city manager, worked diligently on it, and this council and this city manager has to implement it. It will be of great benefit to our city. It will help with a lot of the issues we have with flooding in our community. We know this year we will see in the eastern portions of our city repairs, major repairs being made to our water delivery infrastructure. The council has already earmarked funding for that purpose. So that's another infrastructure improvement that you can look forward to in our community. We have already seen many of our streets being repaired and replaced in the eastern portions of our city. And so there's work being done in our community. There is economic development happening in every area of our community. And so we're moving forward. Again, what do we do in 2023 as we await questions? We would certainly love questions. What do we do? I think we have to begin to look inward. I think as a council, you will hear me speak more about looking internally, looking at our efficiency as a city government. I am a big fan of small government, as I have 20 years of experience, and I know and understand municipal government in ways that lead me to believe small government works on a municipal level. And so I think we look inward as a council. I think we look at the efficiency of every one of our departments. I think you will see me advocating for that. I think that you'll see me advocating for better policies and procedures and more accountability internally. There needs to be on every level. Our government is not immune to that. So I plan on advocating that the council move us forward in that direction. We are on the cusp of something great in our community, but we have to do our due diligence. It takes preparation. The wonderful things that we have in store in this great community are at our doorstep, but we have to prepare, and we have to make sure that we are ready, and we have to look within to make sure that we're ready. So there will be a lot of study and a lot of accountability and a lot of planning. I think we owe it to you as a community, and I think this council understands that. Are there any questions? I'm hoping that I spur something. Thank you, Jennifer, for rescuing us.
You're very welcome. I'm rescuing you from your rambling, so I'll ramble now.
Yes, ma'am. An address as well, Jen.
Okay. Eva's neighbor. No. Jennifer Earl, 1412 Bonham Street. We've been talking a lot about grants, and I want to know what the EDC is doing. I want some more accountability out of our EDC. I know they're run as a separate entity, but they really should be our own internal economic, like Chamber of Commerce. We should be out hitting the ground. We should be courting businesses. We should be showcasing how many rooftops we've developed, how many businesses we've brought in the last year. What is our marketing campaign for the city? Grants are great, I love free money, but it takes a long time to get it. It takes warm bodies to manage it. But if we're not getting more rooftops, we're not getting more businesses, what are they doing?
Right.
You've said before, we have the most frontage on I-45. We should be capitalizing on this mess out here. Pardon our mess. We're under construction. We're booming. In
Right.
2022, we built X number of houses. In 2022, we, brought X number of new businesses. In 2022, we rolled back our taxes. We should be out there campaigning and making this into something positive and selling ourselves. I managed a print shop for years. I'm not a marketing guru by any means, but I saw what other places were doing to market themselves. City of Pearland had a beautiful flyer from their Economic Development Corporation, and they were out going to people in the Houston area to get them to move there, to move their business there. Going to conferences in Vegas, yeah, that's cool and all that, but what are we doing in our own backyard? We need
Yes,
to
ma'am.
support our businesses here too. I saw we were gonna do a job fair, that's great, but if they don't have the business to support it, then they don't have the spots for those warm bodies to work.
Right.
Let's do some social media 101 for those businesses. Let's teach all of our small businesses how to, market themselves.
Right.
We need to be doing more of that. I would love to hear on a more regular basis, because the economic development meetings are at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. They're not, as far as I know of. I can't find them on YouTube. Most people can't go during the day to listen to it. Put them on YouTube, or have them come to council more often and give a presentation. What's your marketing plan for this year? What's your 5-year plan for the city? We need to do better. We're past all this negative stuff. We need to start pounding the pavement and getting more businesses, getting more population, just doing better as whole.
Right.
These problems aren't going to go away with just grant money.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes, ma'am.
that's it.
I appreciate that the question. Alex Getty, our Economic Development Director, is here. Now, I don't know if he planned on speaking tonight, so I won't put him on the spot. But Alex, would you like to respond to that? And if you would, we would ask that you come to the podium, because we're live, and so folks all across our city are perhaps listening to this.
My classmate.
Thank you, classmate. Alex Getty, Executive Director of the Marque Economic Development Corporation. I won't touch on all those points, but it sounds to me like you need to come and sit with me, and we need to have some conversations for sure. And so I can tell you about a lot of those things that we're doing. A lot of things you touched on we already are doing or have done in the past. For example, we had a billboard last year that talked about we're under construction. Pardon our construction, we're open for business. We do a lot of outreach and different things to market. Retail strategy is one of them. You mentioned going to Las Vegas, the largest international council shopping center, the largest of its kind. They had one last week in Austin at the Kay Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center, in fact, named after our senator and another classmate. But there's a lot of things that we're doing. We work hard to promote Lamarque. You got to remember, we went from 0 public relations prior to 2016. And so we recognized the fact that the city of Lamarque was not doing a good job of telling our good news. School districts do a good job of that. The city of Lamarque did not do a good job of that. And so we started working with Colleen Merritt, Martin now, at the time. And she started bringing back Inside Lamarque, which y'all just got the latest issue in the last week or so. We liked what she did. We created a position. We said, hey, we could use this person to try to help us get our good news out, market Lamarque, help sell Lamarque, right? And you know that we have more frontage than anybody else because we've been marketing that. That's one of our top things that we've been talking about. So, you're seeing some of the results of some of those efforts, and we're hearing that. And so what we did was hire Colleen. She stayed with us 5 years, did a heck of a job. At that time, it was kind of a dual role. She was the public relations specialist for the city and the EDC. And so what happened over time is that job grew to a point where about 90% of the time it was city business, about 10% of the time for the EDC. And ultimately, she left the position. And at that time, there was an opportunity then to split that job. And so now we've gone from 0 to 1 to now 2 in the public relations world. So, but again, if you just back up a few years, we had none. We didn't address those things very well. And so I think we're on the right track. We're doing a lot better job of getting our good news out. Can we do better? You can always do better, right? We're learning and improving every day, every week, every year. And what Mayor alluded to, we're having some success. You know, so we've had 6 years in a row of record sales tax in Lamarque, Texas. 6 years in a row. So 6 years ago, we set a record. Then 5 years ago, 5 years ago, we set another one, and so on and so forth. So last year was the most sales tax we've ever collected, breaking the previous record from the year before. And so we're creating some revenue. We're having some success. As Mayor has also alluded to, we're on the precipice of some good things happening. You know, we need to stay out of the news for negative things. We need to try to promote from within. You know, rising tide raises all ships. Economic development is not just me. It's really not. It takes the whole community. You know, if you want to go talk to people, you have a great experience at a restaurant that's not in Lamarque, ask to talk to the manager. Tell them about Lamarque. Tell them that there's some opportunity here. Tell them to call me. We'll help, right? But everyone plays a role in economic development. Everybody can help promote Lamarque. And so I encourage you to do that. Love to sit down with you and let's talk some more about some of the things that we've got in the works. But that's all I have to say for now, Mayor.
I mean, I'll sit down
Thank you.
and talk with you, but I really think that everybody needs to hear it. I think the transparency needs to happen in a council meeting. I would like, because you said you did a billboard, I remember seeing the billboard. Were those billboards also in Houston? Were they in Pearland? Are we branching out? We can't just pigeonhole into one area.
Let me address that. So we're limited by law for our corporation. We can only spend 10% of our budget on advertising and marketing. So billboards are expensive. I don't know if you've priced them. Yeah. So, you know, we would easily run out of budget if we just did billboards. For the first time last year in the city's history, we ran about a 7-month campaign on television. So we had 1,050, we'll just call it 1,050, but over 1,000 hours of engagement on our 30-second commercial. So we're doing new things to market our community, but we are limited on what all we can do as far as that. And to address the other point about everything being open, we're transparent, right? If you want to know about what the EDC is doing, please come to a meeting. They're open, right? But I can't sit up here in a public meeting and tell you who's coming to our city because it's not to Lamarque's advantage, right? A deal is not done until a deal is done. And you would be upset if I start talking about a project and then it doesn't happen because it gets stolen by another community or something like that. We are going to try to take care of Lamarque, and when it's good news to talk about, when it's done, it'll be good news. So, thank you.
1,096 hours of engagement.
Okay, thank you.
Never saw the commercial, but JB has had much more presence on the city's social media page. We lost events to Texas City in the last few months. The process needs to be revamped, and to me, I look at anything that has to do with stimulating our economy, that should fall under economic development.
Yeah.
Anything that brings tax dollars to the city as far as people stopping at the gas station on their way to the crawfish bash, that's economic development. That's sales tax. JB needs to handle the city news, the weather is going to be horrendous, stay off the roads. Economic development needs to be pounding the pavement to, talk about what we have here. Poor Benito's, I mean, I don't know how many times since they've been doing the road construction has been blocked off. Art of Coffee's been blocked off. They don't know how to use Facebook. They've got like 3 different Facebook pages.
So you're saying, Jen,
We need to
essentially
support them.
that JB, who is our public information officer, should spend more of his time informing the community
And
and-
educating the community
and
on
educating
things.
the community, and the Economic Development Corporation should take up the responsibility of promoting events, promoting businesses within the
Yes,
city.
because
Okay.
that brings tax dollars to the city in in the way of sales tax.
Right.
I mean, that way, those two positions are clear. But we also, we have someone that has a lot of great experience in that position, but I'm not seeing that great experience out there.
Right.
So, just grants are great, but they take a long time to get the money, and the longer we wait with all this grant money, our infrastructure is just getting worse and worse.
Right.
So,
Yes, ma'am. Understand. Questions, concerns? Mr. Koopman.
1004 Lilac, I might be a little bit of a difference on some of this. As someone who's been in the county now 64 years, I'm all for growth, but I really want smart growth. I do not look forward to the day when our section of 45 looks like what I see when I drive through Webster and League City and those areas. And so I would really ask the council to educate themselves on smart growth. Growth simply for the sake of growth is not always a positive thing for a community. First of all, there's a law of diminishing returns. You can read that in all kind of urban planning journals and things. Yes, you have that new growth coming in, you have more tax dollars coming in. At some point you grow out though, and then you got this huge infrastructure you have to maintain, and then you're not gonna be able to grow, and so you have a problem left on your hands then. So that's just like this entertainment center I keep hearing a lot about. You know, I have a sister who's worked for years for the Cynthia Woods Mitchell Pavilion, and she says that is one of the most competitive things in the world is that live music, entertainment, and venues. And she's even told me, says it's gonna be real interesting to see if this can be pulled off out here and become viable when you have, one, for big acts, you already have such major facilities just right up the road from us. But I really do encourage you to make sure that all of you are educated on smart growth, because that it's not always just going to be good to have everything from Houston on down to Galveston look the way it does right now. And I don't think that's going to necessarily be good for the city either. So I would just really recommend it. You hear examples of cities that have said, we're not going to build any more major thoroughfares right now because we don't want to get that growth at that level. Things like that. Sounds crazy to some people, but I just think that it's something we need to be aware of, that growth simply for the sake of growth's sake is not a good thing. You want it to be the right growth, is I guess what I'm trying to say. And I don't think we've always done that. You know, I don't want to just see a whole series of strip malls up and down, strip shopping centers up and down 45.
Right.
That's not what I want to see. So
Right.
I would just encourage y'all to make sure you always keep that in mind. I know that there's infrastructure needs, but there's going to be even bigger infrastructure needs once you get those businesses and those type of things built. So then you're kind of in a similar situation still. So that's just my thoughts on it.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Mr. Ross?
James Ross, 414 Avenue D. I want to say thank you to Public Works and stuff for the quick response at my house to get my plumbing marked out so that they can come out and dig the ditches and stuff so they can repair my pipes. But is there any way that we as a city can look for an alert to send out to somebody, hey, your water bill's gonna be double or triple this month because it went from 2,000 gallons to 7,000 gallons used?
Yeah, no, so essentially, if you go outside of your normal usage or some sort of cap that you would be able to provide, do we have the software that would be able to get that done? That is a Kyle question or a Caesar question?
I can answer that.
Okay.
We are testing a program right now through our current meters. It's compatible with our current meters that it essentially would be a water citizens portal. And essentially you would have access from your phone. We are testing it, kind of to echo what Alex said, we're not ready to announce it yet. We're vetting it first, but hopefully soon we'll be able to roll that out here. sooner rather than later.
No, understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Questions? Comments? We must be doing an awesome job. And there you were. Come on, I'm teasing. Come on, Ms. McKenzie. We need to have you on the microphone for the record. So I need you to approach.
Oh, no, I'm good right here. Everybody's living.
I know, but the we need to record you.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. You got to come to the
All
front.
right. My name is Beatrice McKenzie.
Address?
404 Poplar Street. And first thing I'd like to say is I never ever see a police officer over in our area, which is good, but it would be nice to know that they're also paying attention to what's going on in our area. But I never see any police cars patrolling. Second thing is, I've lived in my neighborhood for 30 plus years. And there's an area between Poplar Street and Walnut. There's an easement that goes right down the middle of those two streets. The city says that they don't own it. Texas, New Mexico says that they don't own it. But last week or week before last, I saw some workers over there, and I was like, oh, God, they're going to clean that up. I can't believe it after all this time. But what they were doing was addressing an issue with a meter, which sits right in the middle of all of that growth. So bad, so grown up that my husband and I finally broke away from that meter and had one put in from around the corner. It cost us $1,000 to move the meter in on our property. But as I found out that they were looking into the meter, they had all that area cleaned out that they were working on, but everything else around it, they didn't touch it. So I'm like, okay, if they're gonna just clean that one area out, why can't they just go ahead? I know it was contractors, but it just seems to me like they could have gone ahead and just cleaned the whole thing up. It's never been cleaned, and it's a terrible eyesore and dangerous because I'm sure there's snakes and everything else in there, but it would be nice to have it done. But again, the city said it's not theirs. Texas, New Mexico said it's not theirs. So as a result, it just stays looking horrible, all grown up. But that's my two-bit change.
Thank you, Ms. McKenzie. Caesar, do you have a response to
Ms. McKenzie, no, but if you don't mind, we'll go out there and take a look at it. We'll find out who owns the property, and if it's not ours, then we need to hold whoever owns it accountable. Thank you.
questions, concerns?
I'm done.
Mr. Robichaux? Address, sir, please. Name and address.
Warren Robichaux, 1900 Evergreen Lane. Volunteering. That would be something all of us can participate in, volunteering. I was on the website just the other day, and I was very surprised and pleased to find out that there's actually an avenue for citizens of Lamarque to actually go online and register. Fill out a form. They identify what their skill sets are. They identify what their special interests are, and the city can move on it at no cost, basically. And that could be anything from picking up litter to painting to any of the other special initiatives that the city is currently sponsoring or could sponsor. I had the opportunity to attend the Texas Municipal League event this year, and one of the cities that stood out for me was, and they were recognized, is that they had they had an inventory of lawnscaping equipment. I'm talking lawnmowers, talking about just equipment that you would need to tidy up the neighborhood. And it was on a loan basis. If somebody needed equipment, they could come in, sign for the equipment, go out and take care of the neighborhood. Perhaps a vacant lot, perhaps property owned by an elderly individual who can't maintain the property themselves. Specifically, my son and I got involved with volunteering with the police department. And the police chief was gracious enough to make us special assistants to the police chief. And that's just blossomed into a variety of opportunities, which have been very enriching for me and my son. One of our activities would be driving the litter bus, special operations bus. And as you know, we're picking up litter on the first and third Saturdays, and we're using community service workers. Those would be individuals who have court-ordered hours from both Galveston County and also the Lamarque municipal courts. And that has really blossomed into a joy for me, because it's not just a matter of meeting these individuals on the Saturday morning, regardless of the weather, and picking up litter. It's an opportunity to interview these individuals who are in a pinch. Yep, they got in trouble. They've got some community service hours. But what I'm finding out is they're people just like us. They pay taxes. They have families. They want to do better. And one of the things that I've found that I'm able to do is interview them in private as the day goes on. And you find out things like they're currently unemployed, but they try to run a remodeling business. So that means they've got carpentry skills. That means they've got painting skills. They've got plumbing skills. In one case, we had a gentleman. He was doing such a good job on the litter pickup that we invited him to come in and do some work at the police station. And he finished his community service hours, helping us paint and remodel the interior of the police department. He finished off his community service hours and wanted to volunteer, but the chief and I knew that he was unemployed. Well, he ended up applying for and obtained a contract to remodel the kitchen. I'm talking a custom kitchen with the cabinets repainted, sanded, resurfaced, all the countertops redone, all the drywall redone. About the only thing he didn't do was the ceiling and the floor. And then we got donations for a new stove and a new microwave from Lowe's. For at least a little while, the police officers were pretty happy about that new stuff. We'll have to come up with some more ideas to show them how much we appreciate them. So we've taken the gentleman, unemployed, finished his hours, then given him a city contract. Now, a contract to remodel the kitchen with more than a 50% savings. I know what he bid on the contract, and I know what a cabinet business and remodeling business would charge the city. He darn near worked for free.
Yeah.
In his appreciation for us. We have another community service worker. Right now, he's working, he has an electronics and electrical background, a mechanical background. He's doing a lot of work for us on community service hours. Okay? I guess what I'm saying is we could be using not only the community service workers, but we could be utilizing citizens in Lamarque and doing some volunteer work. We run the cleanup bus the first and third Saturdays, but it sits idle other than that, other than at special events. The chief has been very charitable on the use of that van. And while we're out cleaning the neighborhoods, the main thoroughfares, sometimes I'll get a citizen who will come up and say, why can't we do this side street? Well, we can't. We just logistically, we can't do every side street. But what we can do is we can organize some of our neighborhood watch programs, and the neighborhoods could choose to get a volunteer group together in the neighborhood. We could use the bus to carry off the trash. We could use the city bags to bag the trash up.
Sure.
And then all we have to do is worry about offloading it. So that would certainly help us save money, get the city cleaned up. And we just really need a focus or an advertisement on getting that initiative pushed out. Do you want to clean up your neighborhood? Call this number. We will make the bus available to you. I'll certainly drive the bus as a volunteer. As the weather gets better, I would think we'll probably get quite a few takers if the opportunity is there.
Yeah.
And well, it seemed like there was another item that I wanted to talk about, but I don't remember. I'll save it for the next town hall, February 2nd.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Let me address something that has been in the news from a council perspective, and that is an issue that happened at our facility on December 14th. I will not go into what happened. There was an article. There is much information in our community as to what happened. Let me speak from a council perspective. The city manager is an employee that we supervise. We were made aware that there was a situation as related to the actions of our city manager, and the council responded to that by having 2 executive sessions in which we were able to ascertain the actions of the city manager. We spoke to the city manager. We received the report, if you will, of many of the members that were here on that day, their statements. I think that's a better way to say that. And we reviewed everything as it relates to that incident. We looked at whether or not there was a policy as it related to that incident, a procedure, or even a precedent. And what I can share with you about this incident is the council acted and required, number one, that there be a policy developed. We found that there was no policy on an issue as unique as this. Number two, the council also acted in directing our city manager to receive 30 hours of training directly related to incidents, emergency operations, and emergency incidents. He is enrolled in or scheduled to complete 36 hours of training, and I believe he is in training this week. All week, is that right? Or
Till Wednesday.
till Wednesday. So that leaves a matter of discipline. Now, what we have to understand is, per charter, the city manager, the only time we can discuss any adverse action as it relates to the city manager is if we are moving to remove him. Otherwise, he is a city employee, and he has that privacy afforded to him. And so if there was any discipline that was passed down from this council to this city manager, it is not this council's purview. It is not even our right to share that with the public, because he is an employee and he's protected in that way. But know that it was addressed. Know that we heard as a council the concerns of the employees that were experiencing that. And let me say on behalf of our council, we are extremely sorry to every employee, every one of our employees. And when I say our, I mean our as citizens of Lamarque, not as council members. any and all of our employees that had to experience any negative reaction or emotion because of this ordeal. We heard you. And we believe that we represented you, and we believe that we provided a pathway for improvement. And we will continue to monitor that situation. So that's something that was in the news. Many of you heard from the city manager and many of our employees. Perhaps you have not heard from our council. And so I'm sharing with you what we were able to do in that instance. Any other questions? Any other concerns?
Not about that.
Ms. Koopman, yes.
Mr. Robichaux's comment.
You may
To
approach.
volunteer, we still need, I'm on the city cemetery board, and we still need someone else on the city cemetery board, unless y'all just recently taken action and done it. So if anyone here is willing to volunteer for that, contact Mr. Garcia's office, and I guess you could get a council person, because I understand it has to be council action to be nominated to the board or whatever, but anyway, we do still need another person, and we have not had that extra person on the cemetery board for a long time, and it gets very difficult for us to have meetings, because if even one person is missing, then we don't have a quorum and we can't do anything. So we really need another person on there. So if you're interested, let the city know.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Koopman.
No, I would like to be on the EDC board, but they meet on Tuesdays at 10.
Any other questions or concerns? Caesar, do we have any trying to participate online?
Not yet, Mayor.
Well, we are at, we're running close to the hour. We are at about, I guess, maybe 5 minutes left in the
Yes, sir.
hour. Okay. I will say this. One of the things that we learned last year in our rollback election is our citizens feel like they are overtaxed. That was clear. And we as a municipality, all municipalities have to find a way to provide tax relief for our citizens. And I believe that we have a way in Lamarque. And I believe that way is that 45 corridor, Mr. Koopman. I believe that's the way. I believe that we would be able to provide significant relief to our property owners by increasing our sales tax revenue. That's the opportunity. And I think that that's an opportunity the council needs to look at. So I want you to know that it is in my mind that we move toward property tax relief. That will be in my address and in my thoughts and in my efforts moving forward. We are certainly feeling overtaxed in this environment, and we have to provide that relief. We have new schools that will be coming to our community. We have a new football stadium that will be coming to our community, and these things cost. And if we are to invest, why not invest in our children and in that future? Having said that, as we are about ready to close and end the meeting tonight, we definitely want to acknowledge certain folks that are here tonight that are elected officials or appointed officials, members, leaders in our community. I spoke about Mayor Pro Tem Joe Compion earlier. I believe he stepped out because Councilwoman Kimberly Yancey stepped in, and she's with us tonight as well. Welcome, Councilwoman Yancey. I believe our former school board president, who is still our current representative on our Texas City Independent School Board for the West Texas City area, Mrs. Nakisha Paul, is here with us tonight as well, listening, as well as one of our very own residents who also serves as the chief of police in the city of Hitchcock, Chief Willamon Smith. And so those are some community leaders, as well as many of our department heads, board members, and board chairs. Again, thank you all for attending this town hall meeting. We will have another town hall meeting Thursday, February the 2nd, I believe that is. Is that right? Or the 3rd?
Thursday the 2nd.
The 2nd.
Thursday the 2nd.
February the 2nd at the West Side Fire Station. at 6 p.m. You are welcome. Those of you that attended tonight, if you think of something by next week, you are welcome to attend that as well. Thank you all for attending, and we are dismissed.